Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. Somebody put time and effort into making that. Somebody spent hours thinking of what they could do with it, or how they could turn that blank canvas into something, how they could make it stand out. Music is a perfect example of this. Music is such a universally well-liked thing, but everybody has their own specific genres that they like to listen to. Me, I love rap music. I love old rock music, but I despise country music with my entire being. That being said, I can still understand and appreciate that a human being sat down and wrote those lyrics and played them on an instrument after taking hours and hours and hours of practice. With AI, you don't get that. With AI, it's something that is generated for you. All you need to do is type in a prompt. That is all that is needed. You aren't sitting back and you aren't doing the work. Thus, the reward isn't going to be as rewarding because you didn't do as much. The reason finishing a piece of art, whether that be a video or a song that you made or a drawing, the reason it's so rewarding is because of all the time and practice and will that you put into that piece of art. And you spent as much time as you needed to perfect it. And once it's done, you are the one that gets to sit back and admire it. Admire the fact that no AI generation helped you. You did that yourself. That's what I think is so beautiful. That's why I don't think AI is going to be anything positive in the art industry. I guess it could be used as a tool like, hey, shade this image for me. But even then, it's not going to be the same. Unfortunately, AI does have a place on the internet, and it is going to affect us all in some way, shape, or form. For all you know, this entire video could be scripted by AI, but I'm telling you right now, it's not. That's why when you sit down and you finish watching a movie or you finish watching a video, it feels almost rewarding, unless if it's a movie like Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. That movie sucks. But that's why when you finish something, you feel so rewarded because there is a person somewhere behind a computer that spent all their time working on something. They spent hours writing, recording, editing, filming something, and put it out to the world, and we're able to see it. AI, it could be used positively, but I like it more as just a novelty, and that's how I think a lot of people feel. I could be totally wrong though. No matter what type of content you watch, there is a big chance that it was thankfully made by a human, and it wasn't AI generated. Things take time when it's made by somebody. Things take seconds when it's made by artificial intelligence. Don't worry, although that probably sounds like things take I could be things take time when it's made by somebody. Things take seconds when it's made by artificial intelligence. Don't worry, although that probably sounds like it was written by AI, it's not. I am a real person. Thank you guys so much for watching. Internet fan bases. With the internet being one of the world's biggest ways to connect with one another around the world, it can lead to people finding each other and sharing similar interests in a certain topic. Obviously, not everybody is going to see eye to eye, but that's okay because everybody on the internet respects one's views, even if they contradict with their own. Hold on, give me a second, guys. Oh. So it turns out I was completely wrong. Let's redo this. Toxic fan bases. Toxic fan bases on the internet are nothing new. They've pretty much been around since the very beginning. Some of the most notable would be the following: Swifties, anime fans, Dream SMP stan, Five Nights at Freddy's. You get the idea. Anyways, I'm going to quit yapping, but first, I think it's important to find out what exactly defines a toxic fandom. Now let me just get this out of the way. Every single fandom has the potential to become toxic, and in every fandom there are a couple toxic bad eggs. There are just certain fandoms out there that have more toxicity than any others. But what are some traits of Well, one of them could be obsession. Obsession over a certain character, over a certain celebrity, and just, knowing everything about it. Especially if it's a real person, it starts to become a little bit in a weirder area, because this means that you've gone out of your way to research on this person's life and, sometimes even their personal life. Another example could be berating other fans for their opinions. This is very popular in anime fandoms, where if someone disagrees with a fan ship or a fan theory, well, expect a Twitter DM in the next 24 hours just to remind you of where you live. That is something very common in some of these fandoms, is the use of Twitter. Twitter is X.com. I like to think Twitter of the Skid Row of the internet. It's there for everybody to go see, but I'm not really sure if you want to go see the type of people that lurk there. Lots of arguments go on there, doxing, threats, just like actual grown men and women acting like 7-year-olds. Now, upon a quick Google search, a toxic fandom could be described as a buzzword that has been used in recent years by journalists, news outlets, and others, such as myself, to identify popular culture fans who engage in behaviors that are considered negative and unacceptable. So, yeah. And to start it off well, I think we're going to be talking about one of the most infamous fan bases on the internet, anime. Oh Lord, where do I even start? Anime fans, there's some pretty weird ones out there. I am indeed a good consumer of anime. I have a Crunchyroll subscription. Not too proud of it, but I do enjoy it. Or for all of my fellow weebs, you might need subtitles for this one. What does she want? I hate myself. Now, it's no surprise that anime fans are pretty toxic online. Now, something that is very common in the anime fan base is shipping. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is shipping? Well, allow me to get you introduced, but buckle in. Shipping, derived from the word relationship, is the desire by followers of a fandom for two or more people, either real-life people or fictional characters, to be in a romantic or relationship. In short, fans all coming to the agreement that two characters should be together. Now, as you may have seen, it isn't just anime. It can be all different types of TV shows. But anime fans do it a little differently, you see. 99.9% of other fandoms typically ship two consenting adults. But anime fans, oh, no. They like to do it with, the opposite. I am going to be tiptoeing around this. I don't think I need to explain why. There is an anime in specific by the name of No Game, No Life. Now, the fandom of this specific anime has sort of put together that two characters in specific are together. Sora being an 18-year-old boy, and he is together with, again, this is all in their minds, a character named Shiro, who just so happens, to be 11 years old. That is a 7-year age gap. That is also extremely disturbing. There's tons of fan art for it, which just shouldn't be a thing. It's not just this anime, though. There's tons of others. I'll throw in another popular one that you may know, and one I've actually talked about in the past. We're going to be visiting our good friend, My Hero Academia. Now, like I just said, I have actually talked about this anime in the past, but there's a select few My Hero Academia fans who are some of the biggest degenerates out there. My Hero Academia is damn, dude. I don't sound the best in that. I apologize. There is a character by the name of Eerie and a character by the name of Overhaul. Eerie being a measly 6 years old, while Overhaul is, oh my god, 28. That's it. Nope. Swifties! Out of nowhere, it almost seems that Swifties have just blown up. I feel like this is a fairly new thing, but from what I've seen, these Swifties are very, very, stalkerish almost. Like, they seem to know everything about her. And when I say everything, I don't mean like, oh yeah, I know Taylor Swift's Met Gala costume. No, I mean they know her pets' names. They know like her parents' background. It's so weird, dude. They're also very almost cultish. They're weirdly obsessed with Taylor Swift and almost worship her like she can do no wrong, which is just, that's not the best mentality to have. I myself am not really a big fan of her music.
to the hills, you probably have no idea what a struggle meal is. So let me tell you about the absolute blessing of struggle meals. Now, the definition of a struggle meal, it's either a combination of food items or just a food item in particular that comes in clutch when you really got no food in the fridge. You open the fridge, all you see is tumbleweeds and goddamn cobwebs forming. In said scenario, you would whip up a struggle meal. And now I picked some of the best and some of the worst in my opinion, and we're going to rank them today. We're going to start with one of my favorites, dry cereal. I know a lot of you might flame me in the comments, dude, but I fuck with dry cereal. I'm not going to lie. Whenever there's no milk in the crib, it just comes in so clutch. And plus, cereal just gets soggy as hell in the milk anyways. Dry cereal is one of my favorite struggle meals because I'm not exactly a chef in the making, bro. Like, I don't fuck up microwave mac and cheese. I actually did one. I almost burnt my house down with a cup of mac and cheese. Like, how does that even work? It's literally so easy. There is no way I can fuck it up unless I spill the cereal all over the floor. Bertie, what did you do? Nothing. You don't spill the Captain Cook what? All over the floor. What do you mean nothing? And if I do spill the cereal the next morning, I wake up to the sounds of a premium leather belt with it. No, I'm just kidding. My parents probably would have just yelled at me or something. But of course, as a fetus back in the day, I had every sugary cereal imaginable. I had Cocoa Puffs, Fruit Loops, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Captain Crunch. Well, that was my lineup. But so far, we're off to a good start. This one's getting an S tier for me. Next up, we got ramen. Now, me personally, I don't really fuck with ramen. I don't know, man. Sometimes ramen is just way too salty, and sometimes it's way too goddamn spicy for me too. I'm a bitch when it comes to spicy foods. Like if I ate one of those extremely spicy ramen packets, yeah, my ass would be dead on the fucking floor. But yeah, bro, ramen's gonna get a C tier for me. Next up, we got hot dogs on white bread, or also known as hood dogs. If you've never had these, you're missing out. Back in the day when my mom would make me hot dogs for lunch, we were always out of hot dog buns. We like never had them in the house, bro. So what would she do? Piece of white bread, put the hot dog in it, roll it up, boom. There you go, you got a hood dog. Don't sleep on it, bro. That shit's heat. You can do it in a burger bun or anything besides a hot dog bun, honestly. I've seen some people put that shit on a tortilla. Tell me not, bro. That shit sounds fucking delicious. Alright, pause. You don't know how many times hood dogs have come in clutch in my life. And I'm sure you guys watching this video can agree that
Investing billions of dollars to create innovative products and new recycling technologies. Because when you push for smarter solutions, big things can happen.
But nah, bro, when you gotta eat that shit on stale bread, oh my god, that shit's fucking trash. But for me, the hood dog is getting an S tier, alright? Nothing can beat that combo. Leftovers. Oh my god, they are so clutch. Whenever I have nothing to eat for lunch, there is nothing in the crib. I just be tossing leftovers in the microwave. Although leftovers do not hit the same as the actual meal, of course not. They still be in sometimes. I'm gonna be real. But one night, I was with one of my homies and my brother, the duck. We were so fucking hungry and we had no idea what to eat. We opened the fridge and there they are, the fucking leftovers. How clutch is that? Now, my friend taught me what is known as the hood trick with the microwave, where basically you do not let that fucking microwave beep go off, or else it's waking up your entire family. If they hear that beep at 3 in the morning, I will never see the light of day again. I'm a sauce leftovers and A tier. They are pretty clutch, but obviously it's just not as good as the actual meal itself. Pop tarts or any other pastries. Now, when I was a kid, sometimes I really would not have time to eat breakfast. I would just have to take a Pop Tart with me to the bus stop. There I was, hauling my fat ass to the bus with a goddamn Pop Tart. Like, I wouldn't even throw that bitch in the toaster. I would just say, you know what, fuck it. I'm taking the Pop Tart raw. I don't care. And honestly, bro, Pop Tarts ain't even really a meal. I would just eat it because, well, I don't know. I didn't really have any other choice. Everything else would have just taken way too long, bro. Or sometimes my parents would literally just wrap a goddamn waffle and say, take this with you on the bus. When I was in middle school and high school, I was never up on time, though. That's what I was doing. One day I took a frozen waffle and I just said, fuck it, bro. I'm going to wait for that bitch to thaw on the bus. Because there is no way I'm starving in school. Absolutely not. But the pastries were so clutch, bro. I would never have to bring a fucking frozen waffle again. So for that, B tier. Now next up, we got one of the most elite struggle meals out there. One that will change your life. One that will really open your third eye. Peanut butter and fluff or peanut butter and jelly is the most lethal combo of all time. Tell me now. Now, when I was a kid, I would eat peanut butter and fluff, and I would put put so much fucking fluff on my sandwiches. Like, I was just a plate cleaner. But now I really wish I appreciated peanut butter and jelly more. That shit is so elite. Every single day for lunch, I would pack a peanut butter and fluff sandwich. That was my go-to. And sometimes all of us were struggling, and we tried to trade with each other. And now PB&J's an S tier, but there's something better that I would always try to trade for. Yo, bro, I'll trade you this can of tuna for that peanut butter sandwich. What the fuck kind of offer is that, bro? You're gonna have to do way better than that.
Yo, check it. I got you a much better offer. I got you these cafeteria breadsticks for that sandwich.
Yo, that's a bet, bro. That breadsticks hitting. But what about my can of tuna? Fuck your can of tuna, bro. That shit's ass. The cafeteria breadsticks were crazy. No matter how dookie the lunch food was, no matter what kind of abomination was on my plate, the breadsticks always saved the day. It didn't matter. Maybe it was just at my school and they had a sleeper pick on the breadsticks, but they would literally always sell out at my cafeteria. Like, nobody was able to get them, and they were a rarity. It was like a shiny Pokemon in that bitch. If somebody had breadsticks, people would beg to trade. You had the breadsticks, you were him. You were the motion man for that day. And a lot of the times, my trades in the cafeteria got me no motion whatsoever. Like, a pack of Ritz crackers was not doing it for some people. Like, the amount of times I would try to trade for cosmic brownies or a pack of Oreos, and nobody was taking me up on my offers, bro. I was a shitty ass salesman. That right there was a struggle in itself, trying to trade food in the cafeteria. But those breadsticks, they're going in God tier. They're way too meat. Now let's talk canned food. Now, canned food is either hit or miss in my opinion. Sometimes the preservatives in certain foods make it taste like trash. I'm gonna keep it above. But sometimes though, canned foods can be really clutch. I don't know how many times my mom would whip up hot dogs and SpaghettiOs for me for dinner. That was a staple in the Birdie household. That was a box of Kraft mac and cheese, bro. And that shit would feed the entire family, too. We would get the big-ass boxes, and there would be so many of them in the cabinets. I was never really messing with shit like canned beans, canned pineapples, stuff like that. Now, we gotta slide canned foods in each here. Next up, we got frozen foods. Now, there were so many frozen foods I've had in my life. I've had fucking DiGiorno pizza, Schmuckers, and my favorite, bro, pizza rolls. Coming home from school with pizza rolls in the oven was a blessing like none other, bro. Another frozen food I would have all the time was Dino Nuggets. Now, I don't know if y'all remember the Dino Nuggets, but oh, them shits were crazy. You want mac and cheese and Dino Nuggets again? Like, Jesus Christ, like, what else do we feed you? I mean, no wonder why I was a plate cleaner as a kid. It kind of makes sense. New video on that next, by the way. Now, there was another scenario where frozen foods would come in clutch. When I was outside riding my bike, I would always fall off my bike because I absolutely sucked at riding my bike. And then I would roll around in the street and just cry and hope somebody just comes to rescue me. I really had no idea what I was thinking, but then when I would go inside, my parents would just take a bag of frozen peas and just slap it on my bruises. We were all good. But I'm gonna toss frozen food in A tier. Never reheat frozen food. That shit's fucking trash. Toast or bread with butter. Now this one be hitting, bro. When I was a kid, I didn't know how to fucking use a toaster. I thought that shit was fucking rocket science. So obviously, I was having bread with butter. But nowadays, bro, I just be throwing that bitch in the toaster oven and boom, I got myself some toast. Now sometimes I'll be stuck with the end slice of the bread, unfortunately. But you know what, bro? Bread is bread. And when I was younger, I could not teleport to Walmart and get me a new loaf of bread. Unfortunately, I had to stick with what I had. The last slice was gonna have to cover me for today's lunch. I remember, bro, me and the duck would always fight over bread slices. And we always made sure that we weren't the one that got the last slice. But yeah, bread and butter is pretty fire, so B tier. But if you're a bread, it's just so clutch in many different situations. You can walk out of the kitchen with the most obscure ingredients of all time and turn that bitch into a sandwich. I've heard of some people pouring Domino sugar right on a piece of bread. Boom, sugar sandwich. Or sometimes, hell, bro, people even put toothpaste on bread. That is disgusting. I don't know why people would do that. But you know what, bro? We're all going through it, so I get it. I get it. And the one I would eat the most was a cheese sandwich. Not grilled cheese, because I didn't know how the fuck to cook a cheese sandwich. No lunch meat in the crib, so I had to resort with a cheese sandwich. It was just depressing. Struggle sandwiches, B tier. Low key, this one's kind of underwhelming, and a lot of them are kind of weird, bro. I don't know who's putting toothpaste on a sandwich. Lunchables. Oh my God. Now, I have no idea what kind of genetic mutation I had in my taste buds as a kid, but I really thought the Lunchable pizza was good. And eating cold chicken nuggets? That is just such an L, bro. Like, I don't know who made this. Fuck the cold chicken nuggets, bro. Dino nuggets solo. I really don't want to hear it. The only redeeming quality about Lunchables is that they would sauce me with a snack, bro. I'd get like 2 Oreos in there. I would be hyped, bro. Sometimes I would get the Lunchables that was slices of ham and crackers. That was it. And after I would eat them, bro, I was starving. Because like I said, I was a big body. The Lunchables didn't exactly cure my hunger, but they did have the snacks though, so it's going to D tier. Off-brand foods. Now, I never really had a lot of off-brand foods at all. I've only had off-brand foods like one time. They didn't have Fruit Loops at the store, so they deadass one time brought home fruit spins, bro. What the fuck is that?
Fruit Loops, Fruit Spins, same fucking thing.
But I want Fruit Loops.
Nah, bro, I don't care what you say. Your ass is eating them. Or else.
That was the best I was getting. I should have just been appreciative of the fruit spins. And honestly, they weren't terrible. Now, I don't know where to really put this one since I haven't really had it before. I guess I'll just put it in C tier. I guess it gets the job done if that specific cereal's out of stock. I don't know. But this one's the worst, bro. Thankfully, I never had to do this. But for those of you that have, I'm thankful. Sleeping it off. Yeah, this sucks. I mean, the only time I sleeped it off when I was afraid to get up to get food at 3 a.m. I never really was forced to sleep it off. Another trick that people would use is they would just drink water so they don't feel hungry. This one is going in F tier no matter what, bro. You cannot endure the pain, bro. We need the nutrients no matter what. But if you gotta do it for your survival, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
People aren't going to take them as much. It's kind of like have children. Because your failure is their failure in a sense. Yeah, like this will completely ruin their entire life if you like really mess up. But I think the reason why I stayed back is because I think I have seen so many hard workers in my life and their work just not be propelled. I feel like a lot of people have luck on their side when they have success. And that doesn't necessarily, like when people take risks, there's always a bad outcome. Like I am so thankful that you were able to share your story about your nail salon. Apologies, but there are more stories that don't get out like that because there are so many failed risks, and we don't hear those stories a lot. And those people can be the hardest worker you ever know, and their work just doesn't take them anywhere.
It's important to remember though that some people's goal is to be a mom. My mom, for instance, she loves being a mom. She'll do anything for kids. I call her about the most minor inconveniences. She's like, she said, what? I'm on my way, So it's like, I think for my mom specifically, she's not upset that she can't do both, that she can't chase her dreams and be a mom, because being a mom is her dream and it's enough for her. So I think it's not really a negative thing. My belief is it's not about working hard, it's about working strategically. And when I started and I was doing the events, that was working hard. It was a lot to stand up for 8 hours and continuously pitch to people, and it's tiring and it's exhausting, and that's working hard. But I had a cap on the amount of sales I could make because only a certain amount of people at the events that you can sell to. And so I thought, okay, let me try to work strategically. So I started a website so that I don't have to be limited to how many people I can reach, and that allowed my sales to grow. So I think sometimes we think we need to work hard, but sometimes it's you need to think of a strategy that will be able to push your sales or your clientele or whatever it is, so that you're not always working for 9 hours and getting exhausted, and then you come home and you could have only made $100 from that day, And I've seen a lot of people who work multiple jobs and they're exhausted, but they can only get paid a certain amount, salary wise, and all those hours you put in doesn't necessarily get you to a millionaire status.
When I was in high school, my parents told me I couldn't get a job. And that was just it forced me to look for ways to make money outside of a job. So I did everything you could think of in the book. I resold shoes and jewelry and clothes and Popeye's chicken sandwiches, just anything you could think. I was doing everything. And then I'd be on YouTube and I'd look at a social media marketing agency or drop shipping or trading or whatever it was. And I never really quit because I was I have.
Yeah, messed up.
I haven't took a shower yet. Okay. Okay.
I'll leave my TV on. I know he'll believe in an hour.
Okay.
Figure out a way for this to work because I can't get a job. So in a weird way, I've never had a job in my life. I was just kind of thrown into business.
Why didn't your parents let you have a job?
Because my sisters, I'm not to expose them here, but they got jobs, and then getting a job makes you feel like you have a sense of independence, and so they got super confident, and they were, I don't know, staying out late or really distracted from school, hanging out more with friends, going out to eat a lot, and spending the money. And I think our biggest control that our parents have on us is the financial provisions that they set for us, and they were able to kind of supersede that. So when it came to me, because I was a daughter, they were like, yeah, Kelly, it's not happening.
That's so interesting. I
That
was
made
told
you
the
an
same
entrepreneur.
thing. I was told that I couldn't get a job. I was like, I want to work at Cold Stone. And my mom was like, you're young. You should just focus on school. And I wonder if there's a connection between entrepreneurs being told when they're young, like, wait, don't get a job. I mean, your reasoning was different, but
Yeah.
my mom was thinking, once you get a job, you're kind of entering into adulthood, and it kind of shifts your mentality of like,
Yeah.
I have to get a job, I have to work, and she wanted me to have a little bit more time to decide what I wanted to do. So I wonder if you get a job when you're younger, if that kind of holds you back from chasing your
Forces you
dreams.
to get used to the pattern. That's a really good.
I was actually the exact same way. My dad's like, you're not allowed to have a job in high school because you need to focus on school and high school, and then after high school you can get a job. So what I did was literally I would make like bracelets and sell them to my classmates to the point where I got in trouble at school for selling stuff at school. But I still made over like thousands of dollars just doing that because I'm like I've always had that business mentality in me, and I've always wanted to do that. So I'm like, all right, if you're not gonna let me work, I'm gonna work at school.
I
have to
thought
ask
so
the question.
too. It's crazy.
Did you guys work jobs in high school?
Yeah, I was told as soon as I turned 14 I needed to make money. So but I was a babysitter. So that is like so crazy to hear. I've never experienced my parents ever telling me to not get a job. It has always been, oh, you're able to get a job, go get one. I started babysitting when I was 14. I got hooked. I started working at a restaurant when I was 16. And then as college, now that I'm in college, I work in the recreation department. I also caregive for disabled and elderly people. And so that's my current job. But I like my mom has always told me that I needed to get a job because I needed to understand the worth of a dollar because I know a lot of people that their parents provide for them still when in college and they don't understand the worth of a dollar. They will just go and spend their money and do whatever they want, and it's like whereas like I have to hold myself back from plans, hold myself back from things because I have to like understand like that I can't be spending this my money. It's not like I need to. I'm saving up to pay to go to school. Like I have to put my money in certain places, and my mom's always like, "Well, I applaud you because now you're like financially smart. Like you know what money means and like stuff like that." And I've never had a break. When I was a junior and senior in high school, I didn't have a single day like, where I didn't go to school or work. So that's just where I'm at. It is exhausting.
So okay, reset.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for
Step forward.
Oh yes. We live in an internet era where everyone deals with the art of comparison, and everyone kind of wants something so easily because of the fact that we see other people doing it so easy. You see somebody post something and it goes viral overnight, and whether or not they had a product that either leads to them getting a lot of followers, and then once they get a lot of followers, it'll also lead to them getting a lot of sales, or vice versa. And so what happens, you get a lot of people who have become so social media enthralled that they don't put enough time into actually doing what they want to do. They spend a lot of time and like analysis paralysis, which is like, I want to do this and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but they never actually do it. So I just found that so many times where people, we all have our value and we all have our worth, and if we could all price ourselves at our value and our worth, we can never put a price on it because it's so hard. And that's kind of how I see where people are at, is people would rather look or just be where they want to be versus actually trying to work. So they place their value as such and excel great. And that's I'm not. It's the social media age, honestly, Billy, on that.
So I've employed people from the age of 16 up, and then people like fresh out of high school. So it's a big range of people, and the younger people are they. I always have to fire them, and not because I want to, because a lot steal. Like I don't know, but a lot of people my age have stolen thousands of dollars from the cash register, and I'm like, damn, what the hell? Like that's crazy.
That's
And so I have to fire you. I don't like firing people, but I have to. And then even if it's not stealing, it's like, I'm sick today. I'm sick today. Okay, you're sick every day? Like, you don't even want to work here, you know? And so that's just like my personal experiences when I hire people like of that generation. It's just either calling in sick, don't want to work, well, do you even want this job, or you're taking advantage of the job, and then you're stealing. So all the people I employ right now, I do employ one great, younger, but everyone else is older.
With your like social media, maybe the comparing your lifestyle to others,
Yeah.
that's what it is, or is there other things?
I don't genuinely know. I feel like it is a lot of social media. You want more. But I feel like it also has to do a lot with parenting. Like you can just live at home and fun, and that's what a lot of my employees are like. Of the younger ones, like they're still taken care of, so we don't really have a reason to be there.
Yeah, I also think it's I don't know. I feel the reason I place a lot of the blame on social media is because people's attention spans have drastically decreased. Where if we go back to like our parents' age, they would wake up and they would work all day. That's kind of all they had to do, right? But they had their times very planned out. They had to do something, they do it immediately. Procrastination wasn't as such a high level as it is now. But now with so many distractions in place, people work for 1 to 2 hours and they're no longer stimulated. They get kind of bored. They don't really want to do it like that. Just need for hard work is just not there unless they're constantly being motivated.
The work's also being often being done on the phone or computer.
Yeah, true.
It's a very distracting environment. Okay.
Change my mind.
That's why I do change your mind.
As you guys were talking, I started to think about people who I have hired, like work for hire type thing. I have noticed that their pricing would be ridiculously high, but I take a chance on them because I'm like, okay, you value yourself, and I believe in people like pricing at their value. But then a lot of the times I find myself disappointed with the product that I receive, and I'm like, you kind of overpromised and underdelivered. And I think that's because, like, I hate to say it from a private education, but I think it's because we are missing the grind time, the part where you like put your head down and you work on your skills. And I also believe in like free, then fee. And I think Gen Z are kind of just jumping straight to the fee, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna cost $1,000, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a chance, and then it's not $1,000 worth of work. So I think like for me, even though I'm in Gen Z, I didn't do that. Like I would get speaking engagements and I would do it for free, because I was in my grind time and learning how to speak and making sure that I was giving people a really good.
Alright.
What?
I just went ahead and turn off my TV so you can turn it on when you go back in there.
Okay.
Leave the door open.
Okay.
Where I started to charge thousands of dollars to come and speak. But I think my generation is kind of like, as soon as they get the passion to do it, they're trying to charge the high prices, but then they're not delivering the value that they're charging. So when I think about work for hire, I'm like, yeah, I've had a couple situations where they were charging way too much for what they did. But I also believe in like, yeah, you should charge like at your skill level.
We got to bring in our disagreeers.
Plus, I'm also Gen Z.
It's the best.
Gen Z defender.
I think where I primarily disagree is the fact that I firmly believe that a lot of companies will take advantage of your hard work. And a lot of companies will pay you a specific amount and expect you to do so much more than what your job title entails. And I think people's work really does get taken advantage of, especially in the workforce, especially in the minimum wage workforce, because you'll have someone doing the job of like their entire manager. and still getting paid the amount of like a regular barista, just for example. So I don't think Gen Z is necessarily asking for more than what they deserve in terms of like working, regular jobs. I understand what you mean though, especially with a lot of businesses, especially with a lot of hair businesses specifically, people will charge extremely crazy amounts, like $700 for braids. So like I understand what you guys are saying, and I feel like that definitely resonates more with like niche works like graphic designers and like very things that don't necessarily require hard skills, or I guess hard skills. So I understand where you guys are coming from, but I do believe a lot of companies will take advantage of younger people because they think they're not hardworking and just like pay them less. So I can understand both sides, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like companies don't actually take advantage of younger people, but people in general.
Okay.
So I feel
Okay.
like with the younger people, with anyone, like if they don't think that their work is valued, then don't work, but still get a job. And I feel like a lot of people just don't even have jobs these days. It's just a lot of playing video games at home because mom and dad are supporting them. That's what I see a lot. Well, what I see from people because I work in the video game industry as well, I see a lot of people who don't have jobs, not because they're not applying themselves, but because the job market is terrible right now. It is extremely hard to get a job. Before I got my minimum wage job, I had applied to like 100 jobs on Indeed, on LinkedIn, and I definitely have the credentials to do the work, but people aren't hiring. As much as people are saying, oh, we're hiring here, they're not actually hiring. So it's very luck-based. It was even luck-based that I got the job that I got. So it's not that people aren't actually looking for jobs, because a lot of people are. They just cannot find jobs, and specifically for video gamers, a lot of them are in the software engineer and just like computer science route, and that field is completely saturated right now. So it's really hard to get a job in that industry. Your statement definitely like opened my eyes because like while I'm driving down the street, I see like we're hiring, like every 5 seconds. But then I hear like you like no, they're actually not hiring. But why do you have the sign on your window? Yeah.
Mhm. Mm. Mm.
I want to say one thing that I cannot honestly admit is it. I feel like I will never fully, unfortunately, be able to understand your perspective just because from the way I've never worked a job, and so being able to hear it is really refreshing and like really opens my eyes. Like kind of the stark differences where we were like, oh, $15 an hour is enough, and you guys were like, no, it's not. But it's like realistically speaking, I've never been able to experience that to understand it. So the way I think is going to be kind of misconstrued. In the same way, like for us, we're always trying to hire new people. We're like, it's so hard to find people to hire. Whereas you guys are like, or the industry, like it's really hard to get a job out here. So I think that's something that for me, I'm just kind of going through it. And I'm like, oh wow, this is really awesome.
I'm the same exact way as a business owner. Like I'm hiring, and I'll post it and I'll advertise for it on Instagram, on Indeed, and nobody applies. And I'm just like, hello, like, what's going on here? But then everyone's complaining about not having a job. So I'm like, maybe it's just the different types of industries we're looking at, or maybe we're just not looking in the right areas, the right spaces. But there are always jobs. You just really have to do your work. actually physically come in and say, "Are you hiring?" And then I'm like, "Yes, I'm hiring," and it works out like that.
Like a lot of this is like reminding me of the job I had in high school. I worked at a restaurant, and thinking about like taking advantage of like the younger workers and things like that. When I applied there online and I got the job, and I applied to be a busser there, and by the end of it, I wasn't like increased in pay, but I was also a host, a barista, taking to-go orders, running food, and doing answering phone calls, making everything. The only thing I couldn't do, but they asked me to do every single day, was take people's orders. And I said, I'm not 18, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. They had me like doing things I really wasn't supposed to do. And I never like saw like a pay increase or anything like that for that reason. The reason I get a pay increase is if like the middle region state went up, because I worked there for like 3 years. But like, and so they did that for all the girls that worked there and they called them like our little group. There was our group, which was high school girls. And they would do that with all of the girls that worked there. And I loved that job. It was great. But thinking back on it, it's like, yeah, I was doing things that I didn't apply for. And like, they didn't say, oh, now that you're going to be making drinks, like, we're going to, up your thing. Instead of just, I applied to just put down tables. And so I'm like, here I am doing that. And then with hiring with them, it was like, I would see people come in all the time, hand in their resumes, and they would come in just look at them and they would ask us girls, do you have friends that want to work here? And that's what they would hire. It's really different, thank you for saying you don't know, it because you haven't experienced it. And it's like, yeah, that the experiences can be weird like that sometimes. It's like, I'm very fortunate to have worked there because I believe everyone should have that experience at least once, because now I don't. When I'm in a restaurant and the server maybe is rude to me, I'm like, you know what? I've been there. I know what it's like, and I'm just gonna let you do that because I've had some horrible days in the industry restaurant before. So yeah.
Going back to what you guys said about them taking advantage of people. My first job, I worked at Taco Bell. I was hired to be a cashier. They had me bussing tables. They had me cleaning up the poop in the bathroom. They had me doing all that, and this was back in 2015. So the minimum wage wasn't as high as it is now, but they didn't increase it. They didn't do nothing, and I don't think that's fair, at all. Mm-hmm. Because you hired me to do this specific thing. How are you going to find the time to train me to do all these other things?
We'll reset and go to the next one.
Okay.
I want a husband who earns more than me. Step forward if that's true for you.
That's awkward. I say that I want a husband that earns more than me because I'm just me. I want to be a mom, and I want to take time off to raise my children, and I just I already know that the job that I want to have I already know the job I want to have is going to be in the medical field, hopefully. And I always say that if it doesn't work out, I'll marry someone I find in medical school. So I wouldn't be able to support myself if I don't get married directly out. Have money, do my thing. But once I get married, I do want to have a period of my life where I can finally relax. I feel like I haven't been able to. And then when I have kids, I want to be there for those fundamental first years of their life.
I feel like every guy I've ever dated has had less money than me, and every one of those guys, unfortunately, kind of took it out on me. They didn't like that I was more successful or had more money than them. It was always a fight, and it doesn't need to be a fight, but I kind of learned, I guess it's that ego and masculinity, or they want to be better, they want to be like the man, like the old days, and it just never works out for me because they're always trying to overstep my shine. It's I'm not trying to outshine you. You don't need to do that. But it always comes down to the men want to feel like the man. And so if they don't feel like the man in a relationship, they don't really want to be in a relationship. So it's really hard. It's really hard to date when you are more successful than the average Joe.
Broken are intimidated by successful women.
Unfortunately, everyone I've dated.
The shade. I think for me, okay, this one might be a little bit controversial, might ruffle some feathers, but so I was in a relationship with a guy who actually, it wasn't like a case where he wanted to step on my toes. I think he was just overly supportive. But what ends up happening when you have a woman that makes a lot of money and a man that makes next to nothing is resentment grows on both sides. Because naturally, as a woman, your role is to provide in the sense of taking care, and a man's role is to provide in the sense of taking control, in a sense. So what happened is I was taking care of everything and paying for everything and planning everything and doing everything. And so I started to look at him less of a man to where conversations, like we never like yell at each other, we'd just be like, you start resenting, like it gets disrespectful, you don't really care for them as much. And then on his end, I feel like it was a constant trying to prove that he was a man, trying to prove that he could actually play that role, but it was hard for him to never do that because he literally could never do that. And it was just a case where heads just kept clashing. And it was, I don't think a relationship where a woman makes more than a man would ever work. My aunt always told me, she said, don't marry for money, but go to where money is and marry for love. So,
That's true and good advice. Why did you hesitate?
personally, all I want is a successful spouse. Who makes more doesn't really matter to me, but at the end of the day, I do want princess treatment. Yeah. So I feel like to get princess treatment, you typically have to go for someone who makes more than you. Obviously, that's not hard since I'm a minimum wage worker, but I would prefer someone who is able to take care of me. But I don't think in the future I would necessarily have to go for someone who made more than me, but I would prefer to, just because I would like to be taken care of. But also, just me personally, it's sometimes hard to accept things and hard to accept when people want to spoil me and like when people want to buy things for me. So I don't think I'm just kind of like in the middle. Like I would prefer someone who made more than me, but at the same time, it would be hard for me to accept like them just taking care of me because I don't think I just had too many people in my life to just
sweep me up.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah.
I think where we place the blame is the finances, when really we need to place the blame on security in oneself. So everyone does like security and being able to make money. When I have found, even when I do date guys that are making less than me, if they are a confident man, they don't care about how much money I have, they don't care about what I do. Like, they're gonna make sure they pay for everything. I won't even know how much money they have. They could have more or less than me, but they understand their role as a man and not their role in terms of I need her to make more or less. So I think the issue is insecure men are getting with women that they revere at first and then later resent instead of just going after a woman understanding my role is to take care of her no matter her position in life.
Could you envision a partnership where a man wasn't financial?
X from Safia.
Oh, that's my Russian friend. It's not my girlfriend. This is not.
Hi, my name is Deb. I am 21 and I'm a nursing student. I live in Ontario, Canada. I also make videos. I'm nervous, even though I'm just kidding. I know you would say you were going through their phone and showing the people, like, oh, here, look at the business. I feel like I could do it. Like, if Jordan's mom?
I don't like my clothes too much.
Why?
I don't know. It's just like kind of waxing in. Like last week, I was in Yellowstone. I used it once, and that was an amazing week.
But since the introduction of fluoride into our water system, it seems like our bodies have become rounder, our skin softer, and our balls smaller. Instead, these days we debate the validity of the ideology and grant it a prime spot in the great marketplace of ideas. Back in the day when white nationalists like Richard Spencer came onto the scene, people like me said that maybe we shouldn't give white nationalism a platform. Some of the same exact platforms that gave Richard Spencer a space to spread his ideology were central to Trump reaching young white men who overwhelmingly voted for Trump. And many of those close to Donald Trump, like Elon Musk, very loudly espoused. Also, it is a very spontaneous decision. I don't even have much plans for the living yet. Since I'm in Vietnam at the moment, and when we get to Vietnam, yeah, really cool. And also, maybe
The gameplay is pretty straightforward where you race around the track and use power-ups to ensure that you end up in first place. And along the way you pick up Wumpa Fruit where you can hold up to 10, which makes your car go faster for each one you have. But the biggest change between this and Mario Kart is that this had a much bigger focus on drifting, with some pretty unique drifting mechanics. When you drift, there's a meter on the lower right side of the screen that fills up, and while drifting, you can boost up to 3 times in a single drift. It's an interesting mechanic, and I'm glad they added it because it added something that made this feel a little bit different from Mario Kart. And overall, it's not a bad. I'm a huge fan of Crash Bandicoot, and I love kart racers, so this was a great idea. And
Okay. Okay.
Years later, we ended up getting Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel, which is a game I didn't think I was going to like as much as I did. The gameplay here is very clearly inspired by the original on the PlayStation, and it's more so reimagining that game with modern technology than it is being its own unique racing game, and I think that was a great idea. It has the same car racing mechanics as every other game we've talked about. This time there is a massive selection of characters, and they even brought some great ones over, like Spyro, which is great to see because there are 56 separate characters you can race as in this game. They also added kart customization, which has become a standard in kart racers at this point, where you can use Wumpa coins to buy different features for your cars. There are 39 separate tracks to race on, and everything about this game looks good and feels polished. Now, Crash Bandicoot isn't nearly as popular as it was back in the 2000s, but that doesn't mean that they still can't make incredible games. And if you like kart racers, I 100% recommend checking this out. It is on sale pretty frequently, and I think I picked this game up for about $20, and it was money well spent. But the last big notable video game franchise that delved into the world of kart racers was Pac-Man. In the mid-2000s, Pac-Man was going through an identity crisis. He's still one of the most easily recognizable characters of all time. But when you would bring up Pac-Man to someone and tell them they were still making games, everyone kind of had the same reaction. Oh, that is a shame. And one of the games that was released during that identity crisis was Pac-Man World Rally. Now, to give credit where credit's due, they combined Pac-Man and kart racing really well in this game. It plays like a typical kart racer, but it does have some Pac-Man mechanics in it that make it really stand out. When you're driving around, you collect the little yellow buttons that you'll see in a Pac-Man game, and you'll fill up your Pac meter. When it's full, you'll turn into the Pac-Mobile, and you can eat your opponents for a short amount of time, similar to how you would in a standard Pac-Man arcade game. And just like the original, there are fruits you can eat, but instead of giving bonus points, they make it so you can hit shortcuts easier. There was a surprisingly good selection of characters in this game. Of course, there was Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and all of the ghosts, but you could also play as the Pac-Devil and the Prince from Katamari, which was something that I did not expect at all. There was a good amount of racetracks in this game, and they all looked surprisingly great. And they even had a battle mode in this game that was really fun. So as far as kart racers go, this was one that I was pleasantly surprised by. A lot of the Pac-Man games during this time were actually really good. It's just a shame that everybody only sees Pac-Man as a one-dimensional character. And honestly, if they were to make a new one of these games, I would probably buy it. But let's be honest, I don't see that happening anytime soon. If anything, he'll get put in the new Mario Kart. But now it's time to get a little weird. I'm down to get weird. Oh, no, not like that. The next games fall into one of two categories. Either most of their characters are not super recognizable, or they are recognizable, but they have no business being in a kart racer. The first of which was Mod Nation Racers. I want whatever PlayStation was on in the early 2010s. With games like Mod Nation Racers and Little Big Planet, they had a focus on games that were infinitely replayable and full of customization. The Little Big Planet games are some of my favorite of all So when Mod Nation Racers came out and had a similar feel, I was super excited. And this game was pretty great. Now, gameplay-wise, you're not getting into anything super crazy. It feels like a typical kart racer. You would race around the track doing a certain amount of laps. Along the way, you're picking up items, or in this case, weapons, because Sony decided to choose violence whenever they could. But what really made this game stand out was the creation station. Pretty much everything you see in this game was entirely customizable. From the carts to the characters to even making your own tracks. There was a limitless amount of customization that kept me absolutely glued to this game. And at the time, you could share all of your customizations online. So if you made a really great stage, you could share it with people across the world, similar to how Mario Maker worked. And to me, that made this game an absolute classic. If a game has hundreds of hours of content that you could dump into it without getting bored, you know they did something right. And the game's creators ended up making another game, and that was Little Big Planet karting. Like I said, Little Big Planet is a game series that I love to death. I put an egregious amount of time into it, and it's a shame they haven't made any more of these games recently. That being said, Little Big Planet karting is fine. I prefer Mod Nation Racers, but I'm not going to say this game was bad. Like Mod Nation Racers and the other Little Big Planet games, there was an emphasis on customization, but it didn't really work as well as any of the other titles in the series. That's not to say it wasn't fun, but it was just really annoying to have to try and put stickers on things. When in the main series games and in Mod Nation Racers, it worked really well. But one thing they did to really stand out, which worked well, was adding the grappling hook to races. It does not make sense at all, but it's still a really fun time. And one thing this game did really well was had a great battle mode. For some reason, I've never been the biggest fan of battle modes in other kart racers, but this game did a pretty solid job. Battle mode is an 8-person all-out brawl, and honestly, it's a great time. I want them to make another game just so I can have a better version of this. But both Little Big Planet karting and Mod Nation Racers suffered from the same thing, and that was relying on user-generated content, which is now no longer available. That's not to say that these games are unplayable now, but it's a shame because a lot of the fun that these games had to offer was because you could share things online. But even without that, I think these games are fun and worth checking out. And next up, we had Nickelodeon Kart Racers. I was unaware how many separate kart racers Nickelodeon has made in the last few years. There have been 3 separate kart racers since 2018, all featuring a load of different Nickelodeon characters, and all of them are fine. To be fair, I only own the first one, and I've played the other 2 at a friend's house multiple times. But Nickelodeon has been putting out games recently, and I don't really understand it. I get it, use the characters you have, but at least make sure you're doing something that helps you stand out. The first game has 12 playable characters. And I know in later games they flush out that roster a lot, but really, 12 characters? You can tell they were catering this game for people who were born in the 90s because they picked SpongeBob, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Rugrats, and Hey Arnold. And I love all of those cartoons, but there are so many more Nickelodeon IPs they could have pulled characters from. As far as tracks go, these are fine. Most of the tracks look surprisingly similar, and they're all full of this neon green slime, which Nickelodeon is known for. And I get that's their entire thing, but it is literally everywhere, and it's so bright and jarring that it pulls my attention away from anything else that's happening during the race. The games do get better with each installment for the most part, with more playable characters and better tracks, but I can't recommend these games because they're incredibly bland and basic, and it was a clear cash grab to try and capitalize on how popular kart racers are. In a similar vein, the next game was DreamWorks Superstar Karts. The earliest games we're talking about popular kart racers are. In a similar vein, the next game was DreamWorks Superstar Karts. The earliest games we're talking about popular kart racers are. In a similar vein, the next game was DreamWorks Superstar Karts. The earliest games we're talking about at least had some sort of substance, but the following games are just clear cash grabs. Movie games are usually iconic due to how bad they are. It makes sense. Take your famous characters from the movies, make a game out of them, and you're going to sell at least decently well, especially if you put $15 into the development of the game, which is what most of these companies did. DreamWorks Superstar Karts has a bunch of different characters from DreamWorks movies, but for some reason they didn't include Kung Fu Panda, which immediately makes this game bad, but honestly it was already bad to begin with. Beyond having Shrek in it, there really isn't anything that makes this game stand out. It is a kart racer to the most minimum capacity. If you Don't go in expecting anything more than that. You're going to be disappointed. And I got this game for $3 at the dollar store. And honestly, I still feel like I paid too much. I will literally pay someone to take this game away from me. And the next game to take an iconic character and absolutely destroy it was Garfield Kart. Yeah, I can feel my sanity slowly slipping away as I play these games. Garfield Kart is fine. The following games are just clean. In the next game was DreamWorks Superstar Karts. The earliest games we're talking about, at least as I play these games. Garfield Kart is fine. It's Garfield. You can play as a bunch of different Garfield characters if that's something you're into. But something about this specific character really makes me upset. Why are his lips so big? I hate it. For some reason, Garfield has always been incredibly popular, and I have never understood the appeal. He did have his own Nickelodeon show, which was fine, but putting him in a kart racer just seems like a weird idea. There are 8 playable characters and 12 different tracks to race on, and you can tell they made this game just to make it. I think video game companies should just hire me to sit in a boardroom and yell at them when they come up with ideas like this, because this is clearly just another cash grab, and honestly, I don't know who this was made for. Save yourself some time, money, and chest pain, and just skip this and most of the other games, because the only reason I'm playing them is for science. And up next is Looney Tunes Space Race. Of all the kart racers I played, I think this one was the most surprising. Because honestly, it wasn't that bad. It definitely feels a little dated, but honestly, I will take that. I have never been the biggest Looney Tunes guy. It was popular somehow both before and after my childhood. So when I went in to play this game, after playing things like Garfield Kart, I expected it to be the absolute worst. But somehow I was decently impressed. There are 9 playable characters, 3 of which you have to unlock by playing the game, which is something that a lot of these shovelware kart racers don't really do, and that's give you a reason to actually play it. The items are kind of bland, they don't do anything that's that crazy, and there's a decent turbo boosting mechanic, which is pretty fun. And surprisingly, there are a lot of unlockable tracks to get to, even though they're just different flavors of the tracks that are already in the game. But the biggest crime this game has is the fact that I can't play as Lola Bunny. So out of all these weird kart racers, I actually would recommend playing this one if you haven't. I'm not going to say go out and buy it, but if you do, you're not going to be upset. And somehow, on the same day this released in the US, Mickey's Speedway USA also released. I was working on a different video when I then realized that Mickey's Speedway USA was made by Rare. And I hadn't played this before, so naturally I spent too much money on it. And to be honest, I was decently impressed with how good this game really is. This game uses the same engine as Diddy Kong Racing, so if you like that, you'll probably like this. You race around different tracks modeled after US cities, and the tracks aren't bad, but they're not really that great. But what really blew me away was how good this game feels gameplay-wise. Using the same engine as Diddy Kong Racing, I knew I was going to have at least a decent game, but I was pleasantly surprised about how fun it was. When I was originally playing it, I didn't think it was that great, but then I ended up wanting to play it more and more. There were a couple unlockable characters like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but maybe it's because I played this after playing Garfield Kart and DreamWorks Racing. I enjoyed this far more than I thought I would. I'm not going to say you should go out of your way to buy it, but it was definitely not that bad. And honestly, neither was the next game, and that was Disney Speedstorm. Now, somehow Disney Speedstorm is both good and bad at the same time. The core gameplay itself is really solid. I'm not really the biggest Disney person. I've seen the movies, so I get a lot of the references. But if you are a Disney fan, the tracks are full of a load of things to keep you happy. There are so many different characters to play as, and all of them have unique skills and abilities, which is not only useful, but full of fan service. And the racing itself does not feel bad at all. However, this game is a complete gacha game. I personally stay away from anything that's freemium or gacha just because I don't love that model of game. I'm fine if a game is free and they just try and sell you cosmetics, but when it becomes pay to win, that's when I start to have an issue. I love that this game is free, but considering the main demographic for Disney is children, and they will just throw advertisements in your face about paying for premium currency, just to make the game a little bit easier completely turns me away. You can play this game and not spend $1, which is what I did. But for that exact reason, I'm not going to recommend it. If the game was a full package, I would pay $60 for it because it is fun. But but I don't like the fact that they're always trying to sell me something. So if you don't mind that, go for it, but if you do, then probably stay away from this. But I saved the best game for last. For some reason, there is a Burger King kart racer called Pocket Bike Racer. Alright, this game is not something that I'm going to recommend, but it was literally $1. For a limited time in 2006, if you went to Burger King and you got a value meal, you could pay an additional $4 and get one of 3 different titles. And this was one of the games. Now, gameplay-wise, is this great? Absolutely not. Is it even fun? No, not really, but for some reason, it is still a great time. Maybe it's because I feel nostalgic about it, but I don't know. I love this game, even though it is the biggest pile of trash you'll ever play. To put it simply, this is a game where you race as the Burger King, and to be honest, this game is not worth the disc it's printed on, but the fact that it exists in the first place and that Burger King had the audacity to make this, makes this easily one of the best meme racers of all time. Now, of the 3 Burger King games, I think Big Bumpin' was the best. That's not to say that any of these games are good, but if you're looking for an obscure game to play with friends, I honestly can't think of a better title to make everybody go, you need to go talk to a therapist. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you and your family have an all of Mario's adventures, none are more epic and atmospheric than Mario Galaxy. But unlike any other 3D Mario game throughout history, there are 2 separate titles, with the first being Super Mario Galaxy, which released on November 12, 2007 in North America, November 1st, 2007 in Japan, November 16th, 2007 in Europe, and November 29th, 2007 in Australia. Since the N64 3D Mario games America, November 1st, 2007 in Japan, November 16th, 2007 in Europe, and November 29th, 2007 in Australia. Since the N64, 3D Mario games have been incredibly popular. Mario 64 was an incredible game, but it did have some technical issues, like camera angles and control schemes, that made it difficult for some people to enjoy the game. A lot of these things were improved with Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube, except for the camera. That somehow got worse. So with the new Mario game coming out for the Wii, the goal was not just to create an incredible 3D Mario game, but to make a game that was easy to play. Mario is by far Nintendo's most iconic character, and with the Wii attracting an audience of both seasoned gamers and people who have never looked at a controller before, the new 3D Mario game had to be accessible but groundbreaking, which is an incredibly hard combination to pull off. And with a history of 3D Mario games having camera issues that made it difficult for some people to play, Nintendo's EAD division had to come up with a solution that was elegant but simple. And they came up with a brilliant idea. The new Mario game would take place in space. I have no idea how that helped. Nintendo had a few ideas circulating around about what to make the next 3D Mario game. Mario 64 pioneered the genre, Mario Sunshine felt like a summer vacation, but Mario Galaxy was supposed to be an epic adventure, appealing not only to longtime Mario fans, but people who had never played a Mario game in their life. And with the Wii's new jump in power from the GameCube, they wanted to show off how strong their new home console was. So they ended up making Italians of the Galaxy. That is not... What? The idea of putting Mario in space worked incredibly well. Firstly, it allowed game designers to create worlds that were not possible before. Every 3D platformer had gravity to some capacity, but changing between the gravity of different planets was something that was brand new. Whether you were a seasoned Mario fan or someone who had never played the series, it was accessible and a brilliant idea that attracted everyone. And secondly, it solved their camera issue. The brand new planet camera system automatically followed Mario, depending on what planet he was on. This eliminated the need for players to move the camera on their own. which made it far smoother for new people and easier than the older games were for returning fans. And lastly, it combined with the idea of the Wii perfectly. Motion controls were at the heart of every main Wii game. But if I've learned one thing playing hundreds of different Wii games, generally speaking, platformers don't work really well with motion controls. But there are notable exceptions, and this is one of them. The motion controls were added to enhance the experience. You play using the Wiimote and Nunchuck. Shaking the Wiimote allows you to spin and get a little bit of extra time in the air, or knock things out of your way. And using the Nunchuck, you were given an analog stick, which made controlling Mario extremely easy and fluid. So from level design to controls, putting Mario in space was a no-brainer. And just saying the new Mario game takes place in space was enough to get any 10-year-old on the planet foaming at the mouth to play the next game. Just like every 3D Mario prior, there were 120 different stars to collect, but this time there was a 121st star, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The game starts out with Mario on his way to Peach's castle, where he's going to attend the Star Festival and receive a special gift from Princess Peach.
Ooh, Mario's gonna get diabolical in there.
But once Mario gets there, Bowser quickly attacks with his airships, and he uses a UFO to lift the castle off the ground and shoot it into the center of the universe. Mario tries to stop him, but he ends up getting shot into space, which realistically should probably be the end of the story, but it's Mario, he can breathe in space for some reason. Mario wakes up on a small grassy planet, and a Luma comes up to him, and they begin one of the best.
Now we can call someone for help. But we don't have any check. So Pikachu and his friends survived?
That means I can finally get my revenge. All right, Pokemon, surrender. Team Rocket blast off at the speed of light. Surrender now or prepare to fight. I guess the Team Rocket motto is starting to lose its impact. Never mind. Okay, guys, go get him. Hey! I said go get him! Seconds. What?
What?
Nasties! I'm twice as smart as those 2-watt light bulbs you're calling nasties. Seconds.
Coffee.
Come on, we're all bad guys here. We don't need masters to tell us to go out and do bad stuff. Seconds.
Coffee.
There's no such thing as a bad Pokemon? Seconds. It can't be! My master's not around and I always seem to act like a rat. Well. What's up? This ain't fair. You got me outnumbered. Hey, I can use a little help over here. It's no use. Oh well, I guess I'll let you guys off easy and call it a draw. Pikachu? Seconds. Charm. Well. Bulbasaur. Seconds. Pika. Hey guys! Ain't you ever gonna stop stuffing your faces and give me out something to eat? Swear. I don't apologize! Swear. Stop making fun of me, untie me and give me something to eat! That's one big Pokemon. Hey, somebody come and untie me! I could have done that myself. I've never seen a Pokemon like that before.
Wow, me neither. It's one of the most incredible Pokemon I've ever seen. Ash, this place is really dangerous. We really ought to try to find a safe spot to crash for the night.
Right. Be careful, Pikachu. All of you. Just stick together.
A good thing we hid behind the sign.
Yeah, maybe our luck is changing. It's a good sign.
You're watching Kids Shows on Pluto TV. Oh, Sam?
Hey, Autumn.
Let's go. We gotta find Pikachu and the others. Sun's up.
It's morning.
That means we better run for cover.
Pardon me, but where are we running?
To make a phone call.
Huh? But Jesse, we don't have any money.
There's one number we can always call for free.
Huh?
Hello, operator. I'd like to put this call through collect, please.
Accept the charges.
Hello, boss.
The boss! You fools, I better have a very good reason for calling this early in the morning.
Yes, but first we must do the introduction. Prepare for trouble.
Yes, I'll make it double.
To protect the world from devastation.
To unite all peoples within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Jesse.
James.
Team Rocket, blast up at the speed of light.
Surrender now or prepare to fight. Liquids. How dare you invite me to talk nonsense? Don't ever bother me like this again.
Well, I suppose we'll have to get off this island ourselves.
The phone didn't help.
But it will.
But where will this telephone cable lead us?
It must lead to the phone company. The people there can help us get off the island.
What?
And if we stay inside this booth the whole way, we'll be safe.
Seconds.
Pikachu! Squirtle!
Charmander! Bulbasaur!
Oh, where could they all have gone?
Jesse, calling this phone booth is exhausting.
Well, you could use it to work out.
Huh? Is that a mirage?
Pikachu doesn't even see us.
So we'll have no trouble catching it.
Come to us, Pikachu! It is a mirage.
A really big mirage.
It's Pikachu! Let's get out of here! Looks like a Charizard. That's a Venusaur evolved from a Bulbasaur. I'm not tired of my Jar, the jar. Let's go out. This is a nightmare! I hope we wake up soon. Listen, Velcro. Let's hop in and make a run for it. All right, let's go. Don't tell me. Going back the way we came. Jesse, we have to do something. Let's hit the break and run for it. Right. 1, 2, 3, pull. Run, train! Pikachu! Jumbo size! I wonder what that is. Now we've got you just what we want. Hand over Pikachu. Whoa! But you're that big one. Look, they're there! Whoa! Pikachu! Squirtle! Tornado! Bulbasaur! They'll all be trampled if you don't do something! Give me a break. You just gotta help them. Yes, up ahead! What is it? Trouble! Making trouble! And I can't stand roller coasters! What do we do? Hold on tight! Come on, jump in! Are you okay? Wow, we made it! Is everybody here? I'm missing someone. The three's member of our team. You mean me out? Oh, listen. How did you make it? I did it! I won't do it. Maybe I'll look cool now. Well, based on our
Say boy.
I would say the cable should snap. That should happen about next, we'll be hurled into the air. We'll probably crash into something.
Hush from us.
That's weird. Looks like that was a mechanical Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it here.
Oh, then finally, we hit the water.
This map is just not working.
Ladies